have you been taking your vitamins? Girl, it's me. You ain't got a lot of me cred. Are you looking for a good multivitamin? Okay then, well I know the perfect product. Rituals essential for women 18 plus. As you can see, I can't get enough of these because my bottle's almost half empty. Now, just so you know, all of Ritual's products are made traceable, meaning that you will always be informed about where their labeled ingredients come from, why they're there, and how their products are validated. It's a very important thing to know. This is why you see all the girlies using Ritual. Essential for women 18 plus is a clinically backed, clean, high quality multivitamin for women 18 to 49 to help fill key nutrient gaps in the diet. In a university-led clinic study, Ritual provided increasing in vitamin D and omega-3 levels just within 12 weeks. It's a clean formula with high-quality nutrients in bioavailable forms. Third-party tested, vegan-friendly, non-GMO certified, gluten-free, and formulated without major allergies. Y'all know I've been talking to y'all about getting my body regulated. You guys know that I've been having struggles with IBS, and so having a good multivitamin as well is very essential to my body at these periodically times where I'm trying to get regulated, rejuvenated, and also hydrated, because Ritual has another vitamin. It's called Hyacera. Hyacera is geared towards keeping our skin hydrated. Y'all know I'm a dry skin girly, and if you're dry skin girly like me, make Hyacera part of your routine as well. Thank you so much, Ritual, for sponsoring this video and giving my sisters 25% off on your first Ritual order if you use my code jessacouplethingspod. Go ahead down to the description box, click the link, and get your Ritual. What's up, guys? It's your sister, Jessie Woo. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, make sure that you subscribe, so that you can join the Black Women's Tribe during Black Women's Month. You guys see the title of this video, so you already should have an idea of what we're gonna dive into in this video. Hence why I'm not as upbeat as I usually am in my Love is Blind reviews and just in my reviews period. I think that the subject matter in this video that we're about to discuss is so serious. So, you know, you won't be hearing that, like you won't be hearing that in this video. I think that I have to be responsible for the way that I present the following information that I'm going to present to you. So I hope that you understand that we ain't here for play. Like, this is a very, very serious matter. I consider myself a Love is Blinder. Since 2020, I have used my platforms to talk about this show. And to those of you guys who have been following me since 2020, you know this. And then there's some of you guys, I mean, I have thousands of you who are coming in this month alone. And so I just want to kind of briefly reintroduce myself to those of you guys who haven't been with me, who haven't been a sister for the last 5 years that I've been reviewing this show. But my name is Jessie Woo. I am obviously a YouTuber, a content creator. I'm also a TV host. I am also a former reality participant in the reality television show space. I did do one season of Love and Hip Hop Miami, and I was very vocal about my experience on that show. And you know what's funny is I think I am a reviewer of these reality shows for two reasons, right? First reason being, who is not out here dating, right? No matter who you are, no matter where you live, no matter what you do for work, all of us have experienced dating of some sort, right? And all of us have taken dating personally, right? And so I feel that when you watch my Love is Blind videos or my Ready to Love or whatever dating show that I'm reviewing, you will see the passion come through because I have dated. I am currently in a relationship. This month will make a year, and it's my first relationship in 6 to 7 years. But even within my relationship, I'm still dating, I'm still courting, I'm still being courted by my mate. And so I take dating personally. And then I think that another reason why I tend to cover this show and others is I want to speak for like the Black women in the dating space. And because I am a Black woman and I am a woman as well, I don't just speak for my experience as a Black woman, but I speak for my experience as a woman as well. But also, as someone who has done reality television, I understand how Black women, unfortunately, can be PR'd incorrectly within these spaces and mistreated within these spaces. And I just see myself as a voice for that experience. And so, yeah, this is why I tend to review Love is Blind and other dating shows as well. And I have the perspectives that I do have. I do take being a Black woman in the dating space and being a Black woman in reality television within entertainment, I take it very personally because unfortunately, we tend to be undermined a lot. And Chris Colleen's raggedy ass tends to propel the mishandling of Black women in dating shows within his spaces in reality television. He has Love is Blind, he has Married at First Sight, and if you've watched these two shows, you know how Black women are mishandled atrociously by these entities and how, you know, the mishandling of Black women is normalized through these shows. So anyway, let's get into the conversation that I want to have. Now, I have been a Love is Blinder since 2020, but things really shifted for me, I believe, in 2023. So if you go back on my channel, I did have a Black women's Love is Blind reunion where I talked to 3 Black women from season 5 of Love is Blind. And the things that they detailed, not only about their experience that we didn't see on the show because they were edited out, but also they talked about things like being imprisoned in their hotel rooms, not being able to eat when they wanted to eat, not being able to leave when they wanted to leave.
So wait, hold on. Did they feed y'all? Because you know the streets be saying they don't feed y'all. Did they feed y'all?
Didn't it be like once a day, y'all? And it's like we had that brunch that one time.
That one brunch y'all saw, that happened one time.
I need to do it again. I need to lose another 10. Low key, like I need to go back.
I came back snatched. I ain't gonna lie to you.
I came back kind of big. All that alcohol they put in us.
Yeah, it was sugar. That was the worst hangover. Day 2 was the worst hangover I've ever had in my life. Like worse than college. Like even in your pod, you have your own bar in the pod.
Oh yeah.
There's bottles everywhere.
I stayed drinking. We had nothing else to do.
Right.
So it was no food, but it was alcohol on
Okay, they had like snacks and stuff in the cupboard, but I'm a grown woman. I'm not about to be snacking all day.
There was no chicken, no broccoli, no.
They had like sandwich meat, a lot of like candy, some bread. We get sandwiches, stuff like that. But no.
So y'all didn't get like steady 3 meals a day, snacks in between.
Absolutely not.
No. It's like, okay, so if you wake up early, you can eat at the hotel, right? You got to catch it before we get on the bus.
So they was like, fend for yourselves.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they would give us, I couldn't even tell you what time we ate lunch and when time those things happened because we didn't know what time
it was. Late. It was definitely late because we're on set at like 6:30, I think. And so we'll have lunch around like 3-4 o'clock.
And it was usually so nasty that I never ate. It was disgusting.
Oh yeah, that's why you had to get like a special meal, right, Linda?
Mm-hmm.
Or something like that. I think
I was just throwing it away. Enjoy.
Wow.
It was part of our lives. Okay, nobody knew about
That's insane because like the money the production company is making from this show, like that, there's no reason why you're not providing people like craft services is not that deep.
They do it on purpose though, because we get in our most vulnerable state in that manner. Because we literally film from maybe 8 a.m. and sometimes we were there till like 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Because we go from day dating to night dating. And so we were there filming all day. And then, you know, it's set lights. So we don't know what time of the day it is. You know, we don't see the sun.
You don't even know.
Yeah. So it's like they create an environment for us to get in our most vulnerable state for sure.
Yeah. And you can't just like go to the bathroom. Like you have to ask for permission. It was,
You can't just say, excuse me while I go use the restroom real quick.
No. And if you're like, oh, I have to go to the restroom, they're like, we'll let you know when you get a break. It's no, I have to go now.
And the mic is still on you at this whole time. So
that happened. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, even like to get into our hotel rooms, we didn't have our own key cards. We had to just wait by the door.
What? Wait a minute. Wait, Linda. Listen, Linda.
Hey.
You didn't have your own hotel key card for your room.
Mm-mm. And if we wanted to leave our room, we had to call to let them know. Like,
yeah, no phones, no TV, no nothing.
I think they just I think our phone could only call the front desk.
Yeah.
In that one room, producer.
Oh yeah, in the producer's room, not our room phone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And when you get back to the hotel, like I can't go like talk to Linda or Chandra. Like go to your room and we'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah. And I used to just be in there crying till it's time to get ready. Like, oh, my alarm. It's time to get up. All right.
Y'all, this is giving concentration camp. I'm like, low-key, it's giving Auschwitz.
They basically called the show out for imprisonment. They didn't use the word, but that's basically what they detailed. And they come from the same season as Tran. So a lot of you might not know this. I have spoken about this several times on my platform. But back in 2023, there was a contestant that filed a lawsuit detailing her being essayed as well as being imprisoned within the experiment. So let's talk about the coverage of the lawsuit itself. There was an article that came out October 2023. Love is Blind participant sues ex-fiance and producers alleging she was essayed during filming. Tran and Thomas Smith participated in filming but did not appear in season 5 of the Netflix reality dating show. Love is Blind contestant Tran is suing the Netflix show's production team Kinetic Content and Delirium TV for essay and false imprisonment and negligence. In the court documents obtained by today.com, Dang, who participating in the filming of season 5, alleges she was essayed by her former fiance and fellow Love is Blind participant Thomas Smith in Mexico on or around May 3rd, 2022. While the show was being filmed. Dang sued Smith and the production for essay. Dang also claims in a lawsuit, which is first filed August 16, 2022, that she was falsely imprisoned by Kinetic Content and Delirium TV while filming the series and says producers acted with negligence. Neither Dang nor Smith were listed as participants in the show when the full cast was announced, and they have not appeared in season 5, which premiered September 22nd. Now, I just want you all to keep in mind, she was engaged on the show. She also went on to do the honeymoon filmed by the show, and this was all removed from editing, okay? So I just want you to just keep in mind how this show and other shows, but we're talking about Love is Blind, how they go out of their way to protect themselves and also to protect predators by not showing this or at least not filing the suit themselves. Okay, not responding to actually what happened to this woman themselves. Okay, it is all about them, their show, keeping money in their pocket. It's not about protecting women on this show. And another thing too, Tran Dang is a woman of color. She is of Asian descent. Okay, and so while I do take personally how they mishandle Black women on these shows, there's something to be said about how this show mishandles women of color as well. Dang alleges Smith incessantly groped her, exposed himself in the nude, and forcibly and repeatedly made sexual contact without her consent. Smith's attorney, Kit Patterson, said in an email to today.com that Smith denies the allegations and the firm does not comment on ongoing litigation. Dang's lawsuit alleges that production companies are liable for Smith's actions as they occurred during filming or at their workplace, and as a contestant, he was an employee. She said in the petition, most of it, not all, of the acts were captured on camera by Kinetic Content and Delirium TV because she and Smith were under 24-hour surveillance by the production company. I just want you to keep this in mind when we're going to talk about the other predators on this show, okay? That she's alleging this happened during filming. They had proof of a lot of these inappropriate acts because it happened during filming. They were under surveillance, right? And, going forward, if you see how, the show has basically, or the production company has gone out of their way to not address her concerns. This shows you that they are not being cooperative in releasing this footage to her, in providing this footage to her, because at the end of the day, all they care about is the success of this show. They don't care that this woman was sexually violated, under their watch. Kinetic Content and Delirium TV deny that the contestants are filmed constantly in a joint statement responding to the lawsuit. We support and stand with victims of SA, but Ms. Dangs, we support y'all, but that don't sound like support to me. Does it to you? Oh, okay. But Ms. Dane's claims against the producers are meritless. The production company's joint statement reads, "We document the independent choices of adults who volunteer and participate in a social experiment. Their journey is not scripted, nor is it filmed around the clock. We have no knowledge or control over what occurs in private living spaces when not filming, and participants may choose to end their journey at any time." And that sounds good and all until you listen to, again, if you go back and you listen to my Black Women's Reunion, where these girls detail what is coercion, okay? A lot of these contestants, when they're filming these shows, they feel coerced to stay within the experience because of their contracts. Okay, they are reminded, if you don't fulfill A, B, and C that's detailed in your contract, there will be consequences to that. So in other words, where you would feel comfortable to leave, now you're mindful of this contract. So because you're being mindful of this contract, now you're being somewhat forced to leave. That is, now you're being somewhat forced to stay. That is what is called coercion. In the lawsuit, Dang says that she reported Smith's actions to the producers the next morning, but alleges they did not take her account seriously. Delirium TV and Kinetic Content producers made attempts to mask plaintiff's essay by characterizing it as a lack of attraction on the part of the plaintiff. When plaintiff insisted that an assault did take place, defendants, Delirium TV and Kinetic, questioned whether the problem was really one of communication and swept aside her concerns. What does this sound like? Coercion, manipulation. They went on to say that, we take any and all concerns of our participants seriously and prioritize their well-being, the production company said in a joint statement. Obviously, we cannot address undisclosed concerns. So they're denying that she came to them, all right? Now, you guys can pull up this article for yourself. It is in the today.com. But I want to talk about another lawsuit that came from the same season. Today also released an article about Renee Poach's lawsuit. She came also from season 5, and it's titled "Renee's Love is Blind engagement was cut from the show. Why is she suing?" She is the second season 5 Love is Blind cast member to sue the show's production company. All right, this is Renee Poach, a contestant on season 5 of Love is Blind, whose storyline never made air, is suing Netflix and a production company behind the reality series, calling her time on the show traumatic. Poach, whose engagement to Carter Wall was filmed but never aired, filed the lawsuit January 2nd. The complaint was obtained by NBC News, provides Poach's perspective on the engagement to Wall, who is described as a walking red flag. The complaint also aims to release Poach from what she describes as an overreaching and unlawful talent agreement that would prevent her from speaking about her time on the show. The lawsuit comes after Delirium initiated arbitration against Poach in November 2023, accusing the Texas-based veterinarian of violating the non-disclosure provisions of her contract by making public remarks amid fan speculation about her storyline. Poach spoke about her engagement on a podcast hosted by former Love is Blind contestants. So Renee went on Out of the Pods, and Out of the Pods is hosted by Deepti and Natalie from season 4, I believe. I believe it was season 4 or season 3. Can't remember. But they have this podcast, and it is not backed by Netflix, so they're able to have very, very real conversations with former contestants. Renee went on the podcast, and she spilled a whole lot of tea, especially for those of us who watched the show, because We saw her a lot. We saw glimpses of her in the pods. And then we also saw her in the episode where the fiancés, the women went to go try on their dresses. And we also saw Carter as well, but how it was edited, it made it seem as though they were there supporting other cast members, when lo and behold and lo, the whole time, they were actually there because they were getting their wedding gear. But that wasn't how it was presented to viewers. So we all know basically that when these contestants do Love is Blind, they have to sign an NDA. And a lot of times in their NDA or in basic NDAs, when you're going on these shows, they detail that if you say anything disparaging against the show, there will be consequences for that. And a lot of times they tell you that they will sue you. Now, most of the time, these companies are not actually going to sue you, because it actually will cost more money to sue you than it costed for them to actually have you on the show. And season 5 contestants, season 4 contestants, even season 3 contestants have been very vocal about the fact that they were paid pennies. They were paid below minimum wage to appear on the show. I have talked a lot of times about when I did Love is Blind, when I did Love and Hip Hop, how I was told, oh, if you didn't come back for a second season, we're going to sue you. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And I told them flat out, sue me. Now, when I say them, it was the creator of the show who told me that. The network never told me that. And it was because it was way cheaper to have me on the show than to sue me. It just financially, it just did not make sense. Now, I did suffer a little bit of blackballing for a couple of years because of that. But baby, I'm Haitian. I do not care. I'm Haitian, baby, okay? Still I rise, okay? I'm like that flying cockroach. You know when you go to kill a cockroach and boom, it starts flying? That's me. Still I rise, ho. All right, back to my reporter voice. As Renee began to speak, obviously, this is not just I had a bad experience. This is a very serious matter that we're about to get into. And so as she began to speak, it threw a very dark shadow on Chris Colleen's raggedy ass alongside his production company. I personally had private communications with Renee, but by the time I got to her, she had already done Out of the Pods, and I just could not score that interview with her. Now, because she started speaking about serious matters, they did not sue her, but they initiated arbitration with her. And for those of you guys who don't understand something, arbitration can actually be more expensive than a lawsuit. And depending on what state you sign certain contracts, you can be in arbitration for years before you even get to a trial for your lawsuit. Okay, so just so you know, sometimes it's not just the contract that you sign, it is the state that you signed that contract for that can really get to you. In a statement given to today.com, Poach explained why she chose to break her contract and speak publicly. My experience on Love is Blind was traumatic. I felt like a prisoner and had no support when I let Delirium know that I didn't feel safe. I tried to deal with these emotions over time and eventually felt like I needed to share what had happened. I felt it was only right to let others know the truth of what all the castmates had to endure. In return for this, I am now being sued for $4 million despite earning only $8,000 for my participation on the show. And keep in mind, $8,000 for your likeness to be used in perpetuity. Mind you, you had to go through what you went through on the actual show. I believe Delirium is trying to silence the abuse that occurs behind the cameras and ruin me for telling the truth. So let's get into what happened with Renee Poach while she was on the show, right? The article goes into detail. According to her lawsuit, production assured Poach that all participants had been vetted and were marriage material, and that background checks would screen out any potential participants with red flags. Then Poach met and became engaged to Carter Wall, a 6'5" former football player who lied about almost everything per the lawsuit. Though he was credited as being a construction worker, the lawsuit states that upon joining the series, Wall was unemployed with a negative balance in his bank account, homeless, violent, estranged from his family, and actively addicted to drugs and alcohol. The lawsuit said she and Wall hit it off. Then during production, Wall exhibited erratic and alarming behavior and emotional instability became glaringly obvious to Poach and the production staff per the lawsuit that producers were well aware of Wall's mental instability. In an interview with Pop Sugar, Renee said, "We were very excited about everything and things went extremely well in Mexico as well. We were always very pleasant, funny, happy, and enjoyed each other's company. But once we got back to Houston and back to the real world, I started noticing things that I kind of ignored or blew off that were red flags I should have picked up on. And eventually I did say no at the altar." So they went all the way to the altar. They went all the way to the altar, and this was kept off the show. During their engagement, the lawsuit states Wall regularly berated Poole, stole from the set or places they visited, and was emotionally abusive on and off camera, among other allegations. The result was that Poole was utterly terrified of Wall, but was forced to spend long stretches of time alone with him, every minute of which she felt unsafe. Production staff warned Poach to ensure Wall had no access to firearm. Production told her to make sure this man had no firearms. That should tell you how aware production was of this man's behavior. And I believe even in the Out of the Pods interview that she did, she detailed how Wall became violent even with production during their honeymoon episodes that were filmed. The lawsuit states that the defendants, Netflix and Delirium, made it clear that Poach would be hit with legal action if she were to drop out of production. Poach, in the lawsuit said, was placed in a dangerous situation from which she had no escape. So what was I talking about earlier? Coercion, right? You sign this contract, you have to see this through. If you don't, you will have to go through A, B, C, or D of repercussions for leaving this experiment. All right. So these are two lawsuits that are coming from the same season. Now, I want you to keep in mind what she said about how in her lawsuit, how she detailed that she was told that these contestants were very well vetted. Fast forward to season 7 of Love is Blind, we have Liler. Okay, who lied on camera about having 3 children. And eventually off camera, he tells Ashley, who, mind you, during their filming of their honeymoon episodes, he kept telling her that he wanted the magical 3 children. Remember, he kept saying, "Oh, I want 3 children. How many kids do I want? 3. I want 3. I want 3 kids." The whole time, he had 3 children back home, right? And so once they leave the honeymoons, you have him telling her off camera that he has 3 children, but he lied and told her he was a sperm donor, right? And per my research, per Storytime with Ricky's discoveries, shout out to Storytime with Ricky, per my attorney, Simone Redwine, my attorney friend, we did so many lives where we did all this research that proved that through the supposed vetting that Love is Blind should have done, or they advised folks like Renee Poach 2-3 years prior that they were doing with their contestants, they should have known that this man was hit with multiple lawsuits from women who detailed that he romance scammed them. He was also hit with multiple lawsuits from his former landlords, that he had to be kicked out of the places where he lived. He also had no job at the time that he joined Love is Blind. These are all things that, per Love is Blind in these lawsuits, with Tran Dang and Renee Poach advised legally, per these lawsuits, they vet their contestants. So that should tell you that they knew. They knew that when Liler joined this cast, he had no job, he was a romance scammer, and he had 3 children, okay? And remember what Chris Colleen's raggedy ass's response was to Liler being on the show. This article is from E! News, and it says, Love is Blind creator defends vetting process amid Tyler and Ashley's relationship drama, right? And so he says, Love is Blind creator admits that the show chooses to be blind to some aspects of contestants' lives. That is not what you said to Renee Poach in your lawsuit. That's not what you said, okay? After season 7's, Liler Francis shocked viewers by revealing that he had 3 children to fiance Ashley to fiance Ashley just 2 weeks before their wedding, Chris Colleen is standing by the show's casting process. We have a very rigid vetting process, he told The Hollywood Reporter in an interview published October 31st. We have background checks and psychological evaluations. However, that doesn't mean they're privy to all facets of their lives either. Instead, they leave it up to the contestants to choose what they do and do not and don't want to divulge to their love interest. He said this: everyone in the world has a story and we aren't the police. He emphasized, we don't regulate or monitor their conversations, whether they're being filmed or not, by the way. We're not dictating to them what they should talk about, what they shouldn't talk about. So in a nutshell, he's letting us know, we knew that this man was not ready for marriage. We knew that Lila Francis was looking for his next love scam victim. We knew that this man had 3 kids, but we're not going to dictate what you should and should not talk about. Because at the end of the day, we have a show to create. We don't care. Chris Colleen's raggedy ass was here to let y'all know we don't care. He goes on to say, if someone has children or doesn't have children, that doesn't preclude them from participating in the process, he continued. If someone has a bad relationship with their mother, or someone has certain sexual experience in their past, or someone is in debt, all those things are very common for the vast majority of people. Yeah, but you're telling these participants that you are providing them with folks who are ready for marriage. Okay, so a love scammer is not ready for marriage. Someone that you know has 3 children because of your vetting process, and you know them to be lying on camera, that person is obviously not ready for marriage. Simply put, Chris Colleen's raggedy ass does not care. And going further on the Chris Colleen's raggedy ass does not care train, we have season 8 where they not only chose to platform a very well accused pedophile, according to many women in Minneapolis. But prior to the season, they platformed Alex by showcasing him at season 7's reunion. Okay, and post Love is Blind being filmed, post them being very much well aware of the Reddits that pre-existed the show even filming, post them being well aware of women coming forward and releasing text messages to Storytime with Ricky, they are choosing to put him on this past season's reunion in a very well likable light. But then they're also platforming him at events like South by Southwest, where they are further giving him more access to more young women. And just for those of you guys who are not aware of Alex's allegations, let me go ahead and play just a little bit of Storytime with Ricky's video that she did publish on here on YouTube. Shout out to her for all this research. But just before I play this, just so you guys understand, because I saw some comments here and there, well, damn, like Lila was exposed for these 3 kids, but where's the same energy for Alex? I spent 2 to 3 weeks alongside attorney Simone Redwine doing a lot of research on Alex. One of the things that we found that held us back from exposing Alex is he has a very common name in the surrounding areas. So we were not able to pinpoint what reports or what possible lawsuits belonged to him. And then when you look at the text messages that Ricky exposes, he has many incidents where he tells his victims that he is very well protected. He has a very good, well-known, very powerful lawyer. And so he has white, male, rich privilege on his side, which enables him to not really have a record that the public can have access to. So let me showcase just a little bit of Storytime with Ricky's video.
Starting from the beginning, if you have no idea what's going on, Alex from Love is Blind season 8 was posted in the Are We Dating the Same Guy Minneapolis group. He was posted back in June, so this is before the season cast was announced. This is before he was on the season 7 reunion. It is before anybody knew who he was. When he was posted in this group, a lot of anonymous users came forward with some very serious allegations against Alex. Pause to read, but it's probably nothing you haven't seen already up until this point. Some of the women actually located me and I was able to locate the rest. Get a little bit more context behind these allegations. Here's what I found. So here we go. I knew Alex October 2015, April 2016. I was one of the girls who would party with him. I was 17. There were other high schooler guys and girls, all 15 to 17. I remember Alex, we called him Brownie. Alex gave us free booze and I believe weed whenever we went over. I'm not even kidding. The walls would be lined with alcohol. I knew he would be alone with minors, girls at these parties in the basement. I've been doing some digging and I found the house that he was renting. So I did ask two of the women if they were able to locate where these parties took place. It's worth mentioning that two of the women were able to look at pictures that they took from this home. And an iPhone geotags the location or tells where a photo was taken. And two separate women were able to identify the same house. This is one woman, as you can see, it's on 10th by St. Bonaventure Church, which you can see in the corner there. This is an entirely different victim, St. Bonaventure Church and 10th Street. It's worth mentioning that one of the geotag photos that I just showed you was timestamped December 12th, 2015, making Alex at the time 20 years old. One of the victims was able to provide a photo from these parties. Everybody's face has been blocked out, obviously, because they are minors, but you can see that there is tons of alcohol. I do have the address of this home, which is publicly listed as one of Alex's previous addresses. I did block out the address, but as you can see, this location is the same location that is on 10th Avenue that the victim's photos were pinging from. And from the pictures provided, you can see that this is the same home, same living room. Previous addresses are public record. So it is public record that this address is listed as a previous address for Alex. Before you say, how do we know that it's the same Alex Brown? The address listed right beneath it is also a previous address of Alex that I have a lease agreement for. Just so we know that we're talking about the same Alex here, and that address does actually link back to the Alex Brown in question. Here is a contract for another previous address of Alex. Some of the victims were able to provide multiple pictures from this home and these parties where you can clearly see a lot of alcohol and teenagers. This is just for context, again, for context, again, for context. Now it is unclear what transpired at these parties or in the basement of these parties, but what is clear is that parties were taking place at a location that Alex is linked to, and alcohol was provided to minors. It is also worth mentioning that no criminal charges have been filed against Alex, and there are no police reports or incident reports on file for Alex. I did check. Now, here's where things take a turn. You guys know on the show how Alex mentioned that he had a girlfriend for 2 years and she cheated on him the whole time and gave this whole sob story to garner sympathy. Well, I spoke to this ex-girlfriend and she gave me a little bit more details on their relationship. Now, she did provide photos of the two of them together, which I am not going to show here. She did provide proof that her and Alex were actually in a relationship. And this is what she shared with me. She said that he was obsessed with making her look younger. He asked her to wear her hair a certain way, asked her to get braces, and he requested that she dress younger. She said that one day they were out on a date. She was wearing a dress and wedges and they saw a young girl. She said to her knowledge, she looked about 13 to 14 years old, who was wearing skinny jeans, Converse, and a crop top. And he said, you should dress more like that. She also said that when together, he liked watching young porn. Told her that you can just type young after any search watching. They will give you searches of people who look really young. She said that when they were together, that Alex warned her that there might be young girls coming forward accusing him of certain things and to ignore them because they are all young girls who were obsessed with him. She did go on to say that she was a TA in college and she would often read some of Alex's essays and just give her feedback on them. And she said that for his environmental ethics class at Normandale College, he had an essay on utilitarianism and how stealing someone's food and replacing it before they notice is the same as SAing someone in their sleep and them having no idea that they were SA'd. For context, utilitarianism is a theory that states that the best action is one that produces the most good for the most people. I guess the point of the paper was to take a small example and apply it to an extreme and see if the result still applies when applied to an extreme. Now, while I don't have access to the paper itself, I do have a text thread conversation where she raises her concerns about this paper. Okay, so let's get into these text messages. Before anybody says, how do we know that this is Alex? I asked for the phone number, and this number is publicly linked to the Alex Brown. As you can see here, he says, do you want to read my essay? I use the grape during sleep argument, might get an F. She says, oh my God, let me read it. Also be careful because your teacher might report it. He says the guideline for the essay is to come up with an actual situation in my life that I'm not sure was either morally right or wrong, and to analyze it from the lens of a utilitarian. It's just a first draft. She says, very interesting. If utilitarianism benefits everyone, how was the grape beneficial to the girl? He sends a face and says, did you read it? She says, yes, I'm talking about the last sentence in your conclusion. He says it's irrelevant because there was no effect for the girl. Just like me throwing my trash in the garbage, no effect for everyone else. She goes on to say, sure, but according to your conclusion, it benefits everyone. He goes on to say it doesn't have to benefit everyone. I never said that. She says, got ya. If there is an effect on a person from your action, it should be positive. If there is no effect, then it doesn't matter because it's irrelevant. Again, she's just raising concerns on this paper in general. Taking advantage of someone in that context then has a lot of meaning, and it just leaves me a little confused. He says, how? She says, taking advantage of a coward, I believe that's supposed to say coworker, by taking their food versus taking advantage of a girl by putting your inside of her while she's unconscious. Both are two different extremes. So again, they're going back and forth about the topic of this paper. You can pause to read if you want to read the rest. So this is all Alex. He's telling her that because she doesn't agree with the paper that he's worried that she might have autism, since there is no negative outcome for the victim. Therefore, so I take the same theory and apply it to a very serious issue, SA. So again, a very concerning conversation. I'm not saying this proves anything. I'm not making any implications here. I'm just showing you an alarming conversation that raised some eyebrows in her mind as well. Mixed with all of the other allegations, it definitely is concerning. Got a 79 out of 80 on the paper. In this text thread, the victim confided in him that she had been SA'd at 9 years old. He says, do you think it negatively impacted your life? She says, not as much as it could have. I repressed the memory so much that sometimes I forget it ever happened, actually. It's so disgusting and horrible. He says that guy is crazy to do that shit at a public pool. What a weird thing. Not do it at all in a public pool. The most concerning part is he says, were you asking for it? I'm kidding. I'm so sorry. I didn't expect this video to get this long. There is more. Go to part 2. Okay, guys, so here is part 2 of the allegations that are going around about Alex right now. If you missed part 1, I encourage you to go back and watch it, as we did unpack a lot of things there. We covered the alleged house parties that have been circulating online, accompanied by receipts, and we uncovered some text messages that an alleged ex of Alex found concerning, and she shared and addressed that concern. She also shared with me that Alex seemingly asked her to role play as if they were in middle school. As you can see from the text, he says, pretend we are in middle school and I just got your number from your friend and I have a huge crush on you and we are finally texting. She says, oh my God, okay, cute. And he starts with the role play. Now, she did say that her going along with this is a reflection of her trauma bond to Alex, and she often felt like if she didn't go along with these things that he would get upset with her. She says that she did tell Alex that she cheated on him so that he would leave her. She says she does think that she suffered from some form of Stockholm syndrome and had on rose-colored glasses during her relationship with Alex, and she is still processing and working through what went down during her relationship with Alex in therapy. Another young woman reached out to me that met Alex on Hinge in 2018. She did provide a snapshot of their initial hearing on Hinge to confirm that she met him. She does tell me that Alex confided in her about something disturbing, something that he described as a mental illness that he cannot control. Now, while there's nothing to show that he confided in her about anything specific, what I do have is a text thread between the two of them where she expresses to him how what he confided in her about was triggering for her. And it was triggering for her because she was SA'd at a young age. And she shares that she's experienced a lot of guilt over the years for not expressing this or telling somebody about what he told her sooner. I am going to share those texts with you now. Trigger warning to anyone who may be sensitive to this information. Again, this phone number has been confirmed and linked to a known phone number of Alex. This is the phone number, and this is the phone number linking it to Alex. So for context, again, Alex confided in her about something disturbing, something that he described as a mental illness. She often was triggered by this because she was SA'd at a young age.
Now, again, I want to stress two things to you, right? Remember, Chris Colleen's raggedy ass has made it clear that the show has a very rigid vetting process, right? And if you watch this current season of season 8, we saw how there was a TikTok that came out while filming was going on about Ben. Production capitalized on that, and they had Sarah and Ben fake an entire scene acting as though it was her first time seeing the TikTok. But since filming has happened and since the show premiered, Sarah has gone in interviews and said that was not her first time seeing the TikTok. She had made production aware that she had saw it, and they had her reenact it for the show.
When we were at the brewery, that's when I saw the TikTok for the first time. And I left him and his friends to have their own chat together. And I go outside and I'm with my assistant producer. I am on my phone, I'm scrolling. I see a TikTok come through on a Love is Blind girls group chat. And so I click on the TikTok, and at this point it's been posted for probably a couple hours, and there were hundreds of comments tagging Ben specifically. And so I was really confused because she never specifically said his name, but I'm like, how are all these people pinpointing that it's him? And then also how do all these people know who he is? So I was like really trying to understand. So then once filming was done at the brewery, I go up to him and I show him, I'm like, is this about you? Like, do you know this girl? And he said, yeah, I know this girl. I'm like, you need to watch this TikTok. And so he watches it. My assistant producer obviously had to do her job, told my producer, they split us apart. We had to go back to the apartment and film.
Right.
And that's the hard thing of like, yeah, we had to like introduce the TikTok again. And so it's just like going through that. But at that time on the couch, we watched the first TikTok, but then that's also when we noticed there was a second TikTok made. And so we watched that for the first time. And that is when she said that he blocked her. And so I asked him, did you block her? And he said, I blocked her. So that told me it is about him.
So if you think about that, you can bet you by golly wow that production was very, very well aware that Alex was being accused of being a pedophile. Okay? You can be very well aware that he was being accused of being a predator. They knew this, and they chose to ignore this. Now, when I saw Alex on the reunion, I thought that Alex was going to get the same heat that Trevor got. Remember, Trevor was a contestant from 2 seasons ago.
What's up?
Oh, we're stacking these couches. You guys have enough room over there?
And while his season was premiering, he was being positioned as a very likable guy. He was even going to go on to be in The Perfect Match. And so Love is Blind welcomes him to the reunion just to ask him about these allegations.
Screenshots came out on the internet, which were allegedly between you, Trevor, and the girlfriend that you had at the same time that you were participating in this experiment.
With Nick saying, and I quote, this is a big scandal that's broken out since the season has premiered. Now you have Trevor on stage just to address what's being said on TikTok.
I love you so much, honey. I'm excited for it, but more excited to get back to you after and start our life together.
She responded with, did you land?
Trevor responded, just did. Then, skipping to when you left the pods, you again wrote,
do you still love me?
She says, pumpkin, I'm crying.
Trevor then says, can I call you in 30 minutes?
She said, I missed you so much.
Trevor wrote, I love you more than anything in this world, and I'm going to marry you.
She says, yes, call me, I can't wait.
So imagine you have this man come back on this show for those text messages, right? And you have the lattes going back and forth. What makes these messages very damning is here he was on the show looking for a wife, but the whole time he had a girlfriend back home who he was promising to marry. You have the lattes going back and forth, narrating his text messages, the drama, the antics of them narrating his text messages. And you have, Trevor just sitting up there looking like a big old idiot. Why y'all ain't do the same thing for Alex's text messages? Right? Because see, Love is Blind used Trevor to say, oh my God, these people are coming on the show just for fame. What do you think Alex was coming on here for? And not only are you ignoring all his allegations, but you're propelling him into famehood while knowing that this man is most likely one of the most dangerous predators to ever touch Love is Blind. But you do this knowing that he is a very well-accused predator. This leads me to other Love is Blind franchises. So I wanted to talk about Brazil and Argentina. Now, before we go into the next two predators that I want to talk about from the Love is Blind franchise as a whole, I did want to make sure that I had you guys understand. I wanted to lay down the groundwork, lay down the background before I got into these two predators, because Love is Blind in this country, in America, all these things had happened already previous to the two cases that I'm about to talk about right now, right? So we know that Love is Blind has franchises now. We have Love is Blind Argentina, we have Love is Blind Brazil, we have Love is Blind Dubai, we have Love is Blind all these different countries. And if you think that predators being on a dating show is a huge problem here in America, baby, just imagine that being 10 times worse in other countries. In other countries, what I have grown to understand is that freedom of speech is not something that exists as much as it does for us here. That is a privilege that we do have as American citizens, that we do have, well, child, I don't know for how much longer we're going to have that now that we have the orange man in office, now that we have Donald Duck. But for the most part, we are very much free to express ourselves. Here I am telling you all of my point of views on these things right now on YouTube. In other countries, this just does not exist. What I'm able to do right now with y'all does not exist. So a lot of these other instances that are happening on Love is Blind and other franchises, you're not really going to hear about them. And I wanted to give you an opportunity to be educated on them through my platform. Let's talk about Love is Blind Brazil first. So as I was just looking up different predators that have hit Love is Blind, I came across Love is Blind Brazil that I had not watched previously, but I came across the story of Ingrid and Leonardo.
Just wanted to make a quick change here, a quick note that his name is Leandro, but please forgive me if I say his name wrong in the video.
And I kept seeing people say, she talked about being essayed on the reunion, and I'm like, what? So I went to go watch the reunion episode myself. And this is so heartbreaking. I just have to let it play out. I don't even want to interject. I want you all to hear Ingrid's story for yourselves through her mouth and her own voice. So here is a clip from the reunion where she details her experience with Leonardo.
We finished the show, and on the day we left, we went to my mother's house. We were there for 3 weeks. My family welcomed us with open arms the same way they did when we were on the show. They even spent time helping us renovate the house. Okay? The plan was to get everything finished so we could move into the house, my house, safely and comfortably. And that's what we did.
Do you agree with that, Leandro?
We planned to live in Osasco, but the house wasn't ready for us right away. So she said, let's go to my mom's. She'll welcome us. While we were living there, I was getting the other house ready. So all my money from my job, my savings, it was all invested in the house. From the moment I came into the picture, I helped with that house.
You didn't pay for the household appliances, the furniture.
You had already bought them.
Obviously, I already had all of that. The appliances, the furniture, the towels. You didn't even have a towel when you moved in.
But you did both end up moving into your place after it was renovated, right?
So you moved to the new house.
And you know, I assumed that because Leandro had a wedding before ours, okay, that he would have something to contribute. I'm not talking about money. I mean soap, a towel, bed sheets, a pillow. He came to my place with absolutely nothing. Nothing.
But was the issue with the house the main problem? I know moving can be stressful. Is that what you fought about? Or was there another reason you split up?
I broke up with Leandro because of his lack of respect for me. When I chose you to be my husband, I just assumed that since you had three sisters, you'd know what not to do. You didn't. You disrespected me so many times. I protected you. I covered for you the entire time we were on the show, from day one. And to set the record straight, the person with the sexual problem was Leandro. Leandro was impotent. He still is. You were impotent, not me. I protected you every day. I understood you. I embraced you as a man, as a black man. Never mind the whole stereotype that a black man needs to be always ready for great sex. It's true for black women too. So I thought, I'm going to embrace this man. But when we went to my house, you thought you could fix yourself. Leandro, I told you, go to therapy. I'll wait. I'll be patient with you, just like I was with you during the show. And when we get to the other side of it, I'll still be here, patiently waiting for you. We'll reconnect. We'll do some couples therapy, and we can start over. But what did you do, Leandro? Do you remember what you did? You waited until I fell asleep.
No.
I was asleep. Not once when I was awake did you say, Ingrid, my love, let's try to be together.
I never said that to you.
Not even once.
I said that to you many
times.
times.
1 week, during that week. Let me finish.
I said that to you many times.
Let me finish. You have no right to speak.
Go ahead.
On that week, on that very last week, every day, Leandro, until 6 a.m., 7 a.m. At first, I slept in the nude. Then in my underwear. Then I started sleeping in my pajamas. I slept on the edge of the bed. Finally, I grabbed my pillow and I went and slept on my sofa. I was running away from you in my bed. My bed, in my bedroom, in my house, on the pillow that I bought for you. I'm speaking truth.
Whatever.
I won't hold back anymore.
Okay.
You didn't respect me for a single day. That is why I broke up with you. And on the day my daughters found me on the floor, having a panic attack, begging you for the love of God not to touch my body. I begged you not to touch me. I begged you not to touch me. I begged you more than once, Leandro, not to touch me like that. And you wouldn't respect me. You wouldn't listen to me. You thought you could solve your erectile dysfunction all by yourself. It was all ego. It was all lies. It was all manipulation. I will not stay in a marriage polluted by your dirty, filthy behavior. You disgust me. I want to make that very clear. I'm disgusted by your voice. I'm disgusted by your mouth. I'm disgusted by the way you look at me. You disgust me. I don't want you anywhere near me. I never want to be in the same room with you ever again. I want everyone here to know that. I don't want this man near me. You have no right. You have no right to be near me because I don't want to be touched like that. You did not respect me ever. Leandro, what you did to me, what's that called?
May I speak?
Leandro.
Yeah.
You have the floor. What do you have to say in response to everything we've just heard?
Okay. We started a relationship while we were on the show, but we were never really what you would call happy. She had a lot of emotional highs and lows. we never really connected.
You're a liar.
And the sexual stuff, that was tough. I had myself tested. I sought help. We came to the conclusion that it wasn't something physical, that it was actually a psychological issue.
You felt that during your whole time on the show, and you still went ahead and got married.
I didn't think we were 100% there, but I was totally in love, totally invested. I felt like, okay, she's someone who's helping me a lot, and I love her. I saw a future with her, so I was all in, completely committed. I didn't hesitate for a second when it came to saying, I do. But Ingrid was sort of like, do I or do I not? Do I or do I not? I'm not sure she ever said to herself, I love Leandro, all of him, and I want to be with him for the rest of my life. Between the two of us, we have a lot of baggage. I have a lot of past trauma, and she does too, from other relationships with black men that didn't work out. When it comes to sex, I never said that I was right. Yes, it was wrong of me to try to solve the problem by myself. But I was under pressure with her saying to me, Leandro, sex is 50% of a relationship. We have to figure this out. We have to fix this. I did take steps. I did seek help. But therapy takes time. But by then, we were already in trouble. Our relationship had already deteriorated so much. And sex was definitely our main problem. I thought if I could just solve that, things would be fine and we could go back to living our lives. My ego took over. And I thought, I can fix this. I can make this relationship work. Because every other aspect of our relationship had...
So you admit what you did to me?
What I'm saying is, I agree that that was our main problem.
You said I wasn't fully committed to you, but you were accepted into my religion, my family, my house.
Ingrid, I have no...
The same cannot be said about your family.
I
was never accepted into your family.
No.
Leandro.
How often did we go to my family's house?
How many times did your family come to my house?
I was living in your neighborhood. Your family lived 2 streets down. It was just easier for me to connect with them.
How many times did your family visit?
It wasn't...
What did your family give us to help us build our house? To help us build our family? What did they offer us in terms of love, caring, affection?
Hold on. Do you have anything to say to Ingrid? I think now is the time after everything we've heard. But if you don't want to say anything, that's fine.
Our relationship didn't work out. I apologize to you like I've done many times. I tried to talk to you to tell you how sorry I was.
No, you only reached out to me to protect yourself.
No, I know my part in it, but it takes 2 to tango. Our relationship did not end that week. It was already over. You just didn't have the guts to tell me that you didn't want it anymore.
Yeah, nothing new here. May I have some water?
Please, Ingrid is asking if she can have some water. Would you please bring her some water?
She can have mine.
There you go.
She's heading over to you guys.
Man, you're a piece of garbage. You're just trash.
Well, Ingrid isn't feeling well. She asked to leave the show, and we will respect her wishes and give her what she needs.
On our show, you can talk about anything. We appreciate that you're willing to be vulnerable and share your experiences, including the difficult ones.
We want to acknowledge that something happened during Ingrid and Leandro's time together after this season wrapped. This is a sensitive matter that we take very seriously. We hope everyone can find a satisfactory resolution. And so, Leandro, we're going to have to ask you to say goodbye now and leave the show as well.
Thank you, Leandro.
Okay.
Thank you.
Please.
All right, so I wanted to make sure that I played out the full audio for you guys so you guys can hear for yourselves. The gaslighting that Ingrid went through at this reunion was so insane. First and foremost, the hosts were trash. The whole, oh, something happened after filming and we want to acknowledge that. What happened? Tell us what happened. She just detailed what happened. So why are y'all tootsie rolling around what happened? Second of all, it didn't just happen after. Ingrid literally just detailed on the stage that it had been happening during filming. And I want you guys to take that into account and put that together with what I've already discussed in the video when we talk about Tran, when we talk about Renee Posh, and when we talk about possibly several other female participants of Love is Blind that have gone through this, the gaslighting that they have to go under, not only from the person that they are violated by, but also by the production company itself, the Love is Blind, the Kinetic. They have to be gaslit through those people themselves. Okay, remember what Trang Dang went through, remember what Renee Posh went through. Well, that's the same thing that Ingrid is going through as well. There's no way to sugarcoat this. The woman detailed being sexually violated. She detailed being SA'd, okay? And the attitude of the host reflects the attitude of the production company. And you know what? It also reflects the attitude of the streaming company as well, because there's no way that nobody at Netflix didn't see this. Like, somebody at Netflix had to see this and be like, okay, we're still going to show this. Like, there's such a long chain of command. And so for all the eyes that laid on this particular footage, for no one, even at the network, to be able to say, hey, like, we do not condone this. Here's the steps that we took to help Ingrid, get her justice. Like, nothing, absolutely nothing. It is insane.
I want to address just a couple things, right? First and foremost, my goodness, my heart goes out to Ingrid. Imagine signing up for a show and, joining this experience that is seen by hundreds of millions of people around the globe. I mean, we're talking about billions of folks around the globe, because you're not just counting Netflix's views. We're talking about social media, all right? And so my heart goes out to her, experiencing this on the show, and then just the way, if you watch the reunion, this segment was placed in between very lighthearted discussions. And so the seriousness of what happened does not get to be showcased for real. It's kind of like, all right, come on, tell us about your abuse, and all right, well, thank you so much for sharing it, see y'all later. It's just so irresponsible. It is so irresponsible. And then, if you're gonna showcase it like that, don't air it, because y'all air it and that's how you air it. This woman is detailing being violated. And this is how you showcase it to the world. And I just want you all to see the direct correlation between how unserious this story was taken and the way the world looks at women being sexually violated. Y'all just don't care. A lot of people just see this as sex. A lot of people will see this, and even when you watch his reaction to it all and just say, oh, well, things just went, sideways. Maybe it was an attraction thing. The same way when you go back to Tran Dang's lawsuit from season 5, and she says how the Love is Blind producers told her, well, maybe it was just an attraction thing. When he was coming on to you, you just weren't attracted to him. It is a way of silencing victims, because when else are we going to see someone from the Love is Blind franchise, someone who was on camera or went through this experience and unfortunately went through this, when else are you going to see them come out and say anything? If they're watching and they're seeing a victim talk about their story and it being positioned in this way. And you never see the host say, we don't condone this. Love is Blind doesn't condone this. Netflix doesn't condone this. We don't stand behind sexual abuse. You don't ever see it, the seriousness behind it. It's basically, thank you for coming. Thanks for sharing your story. Oh my God, that was so sad. All right, next segment. It's kind of like when you go to season 8 and you see the segment between Madison, Megan, Mason, and Alex, who we all know is a pedophile. And not only is that not addressed, but then you get Adi and Ollie, Black Love. It's just like, what? So we're just going to ignore the fact that y'all just platformed a whole pedophile. Because, Adi and Ollie, they engaged. Congratulations. The sequence of how things are presented really matters, because when you present things in a certain sequence, you are conditioning the audience to not take it serious. You are conditioning the audience to just forget about just what just happened, right? And that is exactly what we saw in the Ingrid and Leandro sequence of events in this reunion. So, I had to go back and watch the season. I had to go back and look at her experience with him, and the fact that this is their first meetup, and before, there are no words. The man just gets to tonguing her down immediately.
I'm nervous.
It's okay.
I literally...
I'm Leandro. Hugging and kissing Ingrid was just amazing.
Oh, but wait. There's actually more. Leandro was 4 months out of a divorce.
I'm 32 years old. I've been divorced for 4 months, but believe me, I'm totally over it.
So, by Love is Blind, rigid vetting process, someone who just got out of a marriage is ready for another one. If we're going by Love is Blind standards of vetting, they believe that Leandro, who had just came out of a marriage 4 months prior, was ready to get remarried. Then if you watch their actual experience, you see her constantly talk about the fact that, hey, I have a job and I'm able to bring in money. I'm able to bring in this. I'm able to bring in that.
We have to figure out our finances,
Yeah.
Like what we're going to do, how we're going to pay for stuff.
Where are we going to live? What do you have to bring to the table? And Leandro really never addresses that, but his main concern is their sexual life. So much so that anytime he comes up with an experience for them, it is sexual. They even had this episode where they went down to a sexual therapy place.
I don't know a lot about Tantra, but I think it's going to be good for me and Ingrid to connect more and try new things.
That taught them to basically how to touch each other, how to romance each other. That is Leandro's main concern, is getting into Ingrid's guts.
Touching each other more, taking our time instead of rushing, just understanding our bodies.
This is all on camera. And she even expresses in one segment how, I think this was in during their honeymoon, how, she kind of feels like he's forcing the sexual aspect of things and she's just not ready.
I feel his desire for me and I want him too, but it's not happening.
Again, this is all on camera. And so there is correlation between all these things that happened on camera and her being essayed off camera. And I just wonder if this is the first time that he did it to her. I wonder if this happened during filming. I wonder if she too went to production and she got shut down, just like Tran did, just like Renee Poach did, and just like maybe numerous other contestants were, and we'll never know their stories because unfortunately, it's too hard for them to come out and speak on it. Not only because of public perception and the public just not caring, but also Chris Colleen's raggedy ass, as well as the Love is Blind franchise and production not giving a damn. My heart goes out to Ingrid. You all who know my story know that I am an SA survivor. And so I just take this probably more serious than folks who have not been survivors of this, because unfortunately I know what it is to not only experience this, but I also know what it is to tell my story and people just shut it down. When I was on reality television, I shared my story and that was shut down. The unseriousness of it all was enveloped within other things that were happening, and it was enveloped in my story, my entire personality, and other aspects of my life just not being showcased. So by the time the audience of Love and Hip Hop was told about my story, they didn't give a fuck. They didn't care. They just didn't care. Okay? So I know firsthand how this feels, which is why I wanted to use my platform to talk about it. Let's get into Love is Blind Argentina, because I think of them all, This to me is the most absurd. Emily and Santiago are two contestants that were featured on Love is Blind Argentina. Last month, her bruised face went viral. It didn't really go viral in our cycle of news here in America, but the LA Times did pick it up, and here is an article that they presented.
Just want to make a quick note that it wasn't the LA Times, it was the Latin Times. So I stand to correct myself for being correct the first time. Basically, no mainstream or, honestly, virtually no media on this side of the planet picked up what was happening on this show.
Love is Blind couple divorces days after getting married after DV incident. The couple who met on the reality show had recently married in a civil ceremony and were in the midst of planning their religious wedding. Emily Sesso, a former participant in Love is Blind, has shaken audiences with her harrowing account of DV involving her husband Santiago Martinez. The couple who met on the reality show had recently married in a civil ceremony and were in the midst of planning their religious wedding, scheduled for February 22 in Argentina. However, the preparations came to an abrupt halt after Santiago physically assaulted Emily in the early hours of February 8. In an interview with streaming channel Bondi Live, Emily described the incident that evening. She had gone out with her mother and sisters to celebrate her bachelorette party. Upon returning home after attending a play and having dinner, she approached Santiago for a hug, only to be met with accusations. He claimed to have seen a TikTok video of hers with other men. As Emily attempted to explain, Santiago escalated the situation, hurling insults at her. She decided to leave, but he physically restrained her, preventing her from escaping. She said this: "He punched me in the head, called me a whore, hit me again, and pushed me onto the bed. He's very strong. He started choking me with my own arms. I begged him, please stop, you're hurting me. And he mocked me saying, 2 hours ago, you weren't crying, cry now," Emily tearfully recalled. Desperate, she fought back, kicking him in the groin and biting his hand when he tried to silence her screams, but her resistance only enraged him further. The assault left visible injuries, including a bruised eye, which was still noticeable during the interview. Despite the severity of her wounds, Santiago dismissed them, saying, "Relax, love. In 2 days, it'll be gone." Fearing further violence, Emily pretended everything was fine for the rest of the day. On February 9th, she seized an opportunity to escape, taking only with her keys, the clothes on her back to seek refuge at her sister's house. Once he realized she had left, Santiago bombarded Emily with WhatsApp messages. Initially, he accused her of running off with another man. Then his tone shifted as he tried to manipulate her into covering up the reason for their wedding's cancellation. He says this is what I'm telling the guests. Unfortunately, the venue we had booked double booked the date with a birthday event at noon, so we have to postpone the wedding. This is one of his proposed excuses for their wedding being canceled. As the messages continued, he pleaded for discretion, suggesting they present a united front in the announcing of their separation. He later tried to justify his actions, claiming they stemmed from childhood trauma. Determined to seek justice, Emily filed a DV complaint against Santiago on February 11th. The case is being handled by the Gender and Family Violence Division at the Women's Police Station in General Rodriguez, with prosecutor Florencia Toscano overseeing the investigation. News of the incident quickly spread online, sparking outrage. As a result of the public backlash, Santiago was fired from River Plate Digital, the streaming channel of River Plate Football Club, where he had been working. The platform condemned his actions, issuing a statement. "We unequivocally denounce the actions of Santiago Martinez. As a result, we have immediately terminated his involvement in Que Destino Somos. Our platform has zero tolerance for any form of violence. We stand with the victim and strongly condemn these acts." Now, I do have a video of Emily detailing exactly what happened to her. And again, viewers' discretion is advised. Trigger warning is advised. I am issuing a trigger warning as I issued at the beginning of this video. Here is Emily detailing what took place, but in her native language.
Lo mejor que puedo, por suerte estoy muy acompañada de mi familia, me están apoyando un montón. Vengo con los lentes porque lo voy a mostrar, tengo la cara así, en este estado. Yo la pasé muy mal en esos momentos. Le pedía por favor a Santiago que me dejara de pegar. Por favor, le pedía.
Emi, ¿cuándo fuiste a hacer la denuncia?
Fui el martes a la mañana.
El martes a la mañana. ¿Y
Mira,
este hecho cuándo ocurrió?
Ocurrió la noche del viernes y la madrugada del sábado. Nosotros nos íbamos a casar de vuelta ahora por iglesia porque en el programa nos habíamos casado solo por civil y mi mamá con mis hermanas, con mis tías y mis primas me organizaron una despedida de soltera sorpresa. O sea, no fue nada, igual nada justifica lo que hizo. Fuimos a ver sex,
Sí.
nada más.
¿Con quién fuiste a ver sex?
Con mi mamá, mis dos hermanas. Mi hermana está embarazada, o sea, no íbamos a hacer nada malo. Y él, cuando le conté temprano, che, mirá, me están organizando una despedida, me van a venir a buscar en la noche, me preguntaron más que nada si iba a estar disponible. Me dijo, ay, qué bueno, amor, andá, pasala lindo, disfrutá, divertite. O sea, como súper natural, como esperaba la reacción que tenga el Santiago con el que yo vivía.
Sí.
Él se fue a trabajar porque tenía que hacer muchas cosas. Y después ya no lo vi, pero iba mandándome mensajes y le mandé cómo estaba vestida. Me dice, estás hecha una bomba, estás hermosa, estás divina, rompela, disfrutá. Y a la noche cuando volvimos de sex me preguntó si lo podíamos pasar a buscar. Lo pasamos a buscar.
¿Él estaba en dónde?
Estaba creo que en Liniers, en la casa de los compañeros que están en el streaming de River. Y después, cuando llegamos a casa, ya medio que no me hablaba, entonces yo lo abracé de atrás y le fui a dar un beso, como todas las noches, como totalmente normal, y me saca y me dice, andate pajera, sos una pajera, y yo le dije, pará, ¿qué te pasa? Y me dice, no, vos sos una pajera, sos una puta como vos y todas con las que fuiste. Entonces cuando ya me empezó a insultar, le dije, bueno, me voy, o sea, no tengo por qué quedarme acá.
Esto pregunta, perdón que te pregunte, esto en donde ustedes dos vivían.
Sí.
O sea, vos lo pasaste a buscar en...
Llegamos
¿Sola?
a casa. No, con mi prima, el auto de mi prima, con mi tía y una amiga de mi
y hasta
prima.
ahí todo bien. Él no mostró ningún tipo de
Le había contado, me preguntó cómo me fue y le conté, le vi a alguien, le digo, te mando saludos porque él lo conoce, todo bien. Y le digo, nada, participó un poco del show y me dijo que no le había gustado, pero le dije, tranqui, igual que no pasó nada, o sea, solo interactué nada más. Y después ya cuando llegamos a casa me dice, yo lo vi en TikTok. Me empezó a insultar, me decía, puta, yo te vi en TikTok, que te estabas arriba del escenario, y con chongos te estaban bailando y vos disfrutando ahí, sos una pajera. Entonces, la llamé a mí, pedí un Uber, me cambié, pedí un Uber para irme a mi casa y la llamé a mi mamá para avisándole, para decirle que me iba,
Sí, estaba pasando
que me
esto.
espera. Y él me sacó el teléfono de la mano antes que atienda a ella y con mirada amenazante me puso el teléfono para controlar lo que yo decía. Y le vi, cuando le dije, ma, capaz que voy para casa ahora, me cortó la llamada. Y me dijo, vos no te vas a ningún lado. Le digo, por favor, le digo, no hagas esto peor, porque yo no quiero estar acá, me estás tratando muy mal. Y le dije, por favor, correte de la puerta, porque estaba trabando la puerta de la habitación. Y me dice, pero vos te vas, pero te llevas todas tus cosas. Entonces le dije, bueno, me voy. Le digo, está el auto abajo, agarro un bolsito y empecé a guardar las cosas en un bolso. Y ahí fue donde me pegó una trompada en la cabeza, de espalda. Y le dije, por favor, no me pegues. Y me dice, sos una puta, y me volvió a pegar. Y me pegó 2 trompadas más, entonces me paré y me quise ir de la habitación y se puso a tragarme contra la puerta y ahí me empujó contra la cama y él es muy grandote, tiene 1,90 m y tiene mucha fuerza.
Sí, y ahí es donde él te pega también en el ojo ese día.
No, ahí me empezó a ahorcar con mis brazos. Tengo machucón acá de cómo me agarró. Me ahorcó con mis brazos y le decía, por favor, Santiago, déjame. Yo estaba toda chiquitita contra la cama, por favor, le decía, déjame. Le digo, me estás lastimando mucho. Entonces le empecé a pegar con las rodillas en la espalda para que se vaya. Y me dice, me estás pegando, hija de puta. Hace 2 horas no llorabas, llorá ahora. Hace 2 horas no llorabas, no pensabas en el pelotudo cuando estabas moviendo el orto arriba del escenario. Y le decía, por favor, le digo, basta, Santiago, por favor. Y no paraba. Y ahí le pedí, por favor, de nuevo. Y lo empujé y le pedí una patada en los huevos. Y me dijo, encima me pegás de los huevos. Y se tiró contra mí y me empezó a ahorcar. y me tapaba la boca para que no hable, para que no grite. Entonces le mordí la mano para que me soltara. Y ahí me pone la cara contra la cama y me empieza a pegar en la cabeza. Y le dije, basta, yo lo único que le pedí era, por favor, que parara. Entonces empecé a gritar por ayuda y me empezó a tapar la boca y me empezó a ahorcar. Y cuando logré soltarme un poco, lo escupí para que se vaya, porque era el único método de defensa que tenía para que se corra. Me dijo, sos una negra villera, siempre fuiste así, siempre fuiste una villera. Y él, mientras me pegaba, me empezó a escupir a mí.
Bueno, la verdad que obviamente lo que estamos escuchando es terrible.
I definitely want to send my thoughts and my prayers out to Emily and let her know that, girl, on this side of the world, you have support. We are so, so sorry that you've gone through what you've gone through. Now, this is the first time that I'm coming into contact with knowing who this couple is. So I had to go do my own findings and go back and watch their season of Love is Blind Argentina. Episode 1 is where obviously we get introduced to all of the contestants. We are introduced to Santiago, who is 29, and he talks about how most women just wanted him for his looks.
I've dated a lot of women casually over the years. They like me because of my looks, but I've
I guess being legally blind is a worldwide phenomenon. Now, in episode 1, we do see them make a connection in the pods, and immediately upon meeting Emily, he lets her know that the day of, that very morning before he came into contact with her, he actually wrote down the name Emily. He actually had a dream about her the previous night before.
So tell me, what's your name?
Emily, and you?
No, you're kidding me.
No?
And he saw her name Emily. He woke up, he wrote down the name in tears.
Would you believe that I dreamed about you?
Wait, what?
As soon as I woke up, I made a note, and here's what I wrote down.
And so for him, he saw that dream and him writing her name down as a sign that she is his wife. We do learn that he had been single for 2 years and that Emily had been single for a year and a half. But with Emily, she details the fact that her last relationship was very abusive. And because her last relationship was so abusive, she looked towards not being in a situation like that ever again. You know, she says she learned different lessons and she just does not want to make the same mistake again as far as getting with another abusive man. By the end of their first meetup, she tells him that she loves him, and I thought that was really, really strong, but I think that was an ode to how much his dream touched her, and so I think it just tugged at her emotions, resulting into her telling him how much she loved him, and he said that he adored her.
Easy.
Bye,
I love
Emmy.
you. I love you.
I adore you. I know I'm gonna...
In their second meetup, she shares this really, really sad story about how she was out and about and was going back to her car. And as she was going back to her car, she was robbed, right? And so as she was being robbed, she willfully gave everything in her possession to the man that was robbing her. But then she details that that wasn't enough. So it wasn't enough for the man to steal all her things. He, after stealing all her things, started to beat on her, like physically. And
he took advantage of me. It was such a horrible experience.
As she's telling the story, she's in tears. Santiago is in tears. And I believe in his confession, he goes on to say, you know, he would never want to hurt her in that way. And I felt that that was very interesting. He talked about how she doesn't deserve that and how he really wanted to do his best to not hurt her in that way. Like, my ears just perked up when I heard that. In their third meetup, right, Santiago details how he has a habit for hurting the women that he's with in previous relationships.
I would never want to hurt you. It's happened to me all my life.
And how he doesn't want to hurt her, but he does have this habit of letting people go. And so you have her in tears crying about how, man, like, I don't want that to be our story. I'm going to have to be careful because, it kind of reminds me of my previous relationship and I just don't want to go through anything like that again. Again, my ears just are like perking up as I'm listening to this man talk because I just felt as if like, maybe this is edited out. We know things get edited out all the time, but I wonder if when he was telling her that he has a habit of hurting folks, hurting women that he's been with, if she ever questioned what he meant by that. Anyway, I find their pod journey to be very, very interesting because it's really just filled with Emily being in tears.
And I feel terrible because I can't help but feel nervous about it.
Every time they're in the pods, him talking about how he has a habit of hurting folks, but he proposes to her, she says yes, and they're off to the honeymoon. So on the first day of their honeymoon, they have this conversation, and you have Santiago once again telling Emily that he has a habit of hurting the person that he's with.
Out of nowhere, I hurt the person I was with by just being myself.
And then he talks about how jealousy is a big thing for him, how little things make him jealous, big things make him jealous. Like he just has a habitual jealousness that he has not been able to shake. And you have her meeting his statements with, well, I just can't tolerate that. I can't tolerate that. I experienced that in my previous relationship.
And I promised myself that I was not going to put up with the same things that I endured in past relationships.
And again, I'm just like asking myself, like, why is she not probing this man to ask him, what do you mean by you hurt folks? Like, what do you mean by that? But also, I've watched enough Love is Blind to understand that she might have asked him that and they edited that out to cover their asses. And I also know enough about Love is Blind to know that production heard that shit and they didn't care. So later on in, I believe it's like episode 5, all the people are get together, like all the couples that made it out the pods get together. And there is this one guy, Tom, who Emily was, I don't know if she was dating in the pods, I guess, but he's there with his fiance. And he really meant no harm by this, but they hug each other, right?
It's great that we all get along. I owe you a hug. Thank you.
That's right.
And immediately you can see Santiago fuming.
Right. You're sweet.
Don't get jealous.
Who, me?
Thank you. I think I'll stay here.
I'm good.
So much so that later on when they get back to their suite, he's still fuming and he's outside in a violent rage. But you have Emily like begging him to come back inside. And he's fuming. He's being, an asshole to her.
I don't want to go to sleep like this. Will you come with me? I'm going to lie down. I need it. I swear I do.
But she's still trying to like make it work. She's crying and she eventually like cries herself to sleep. Later on, you see them in bed after he eventually gets back into the suite and they're hugged up and Santiago is telling Emily like he does have, a short fuse. He overreacts, I think he even touched on, maybe not liking her lighthearted humor, that, he would take things that she would say very personal. Like,
And I get upset over little things because when you're in love, you overreact about stupid stuff.
It's just all bad. And then you hear her say things like, well, that's non-negotiable for me. I can't take that type of behavior. And I'm just thinking to myself, what is making her stay in this? And then, ding, 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 I have to think about Tran. I have to think about Renee Poach. I have to think about so many people who have gone through this experience and voiced their concerns to production. And what happens? They are reminded that they signed a contract and that they must see this experience all the way through. And there's no telling what's happening in a country like Argentina. I don't know what their laws are like. If I'm seeing so many people be afraid of breaking their contracts here in America, there's no telling what's happening in these other countries. America for sure has a big misogyny issue, a lot of anti-women issues, but I can only imagine what's happening with these contestants in other countries. There's a moment in episode 10 where it's another fight that breaks out between them. And it's literally because of her lighthearted humor. He takes, her jokes very seriously. And if she says a joke that he doesn't like, he starts hurling insults at her.
I made a little joke, and it turned into him saying mean things that hurt my feelings.
And again, he acknowledges that he has a short fuse. She acknowledges that, but yet she stays within the experience.
I get it. In the moment, I run my mouth and it's not good. Make it worse because I start saying hurtful things to you that I don't mean.
I had to kind of rewind to the episode before, which is in episode 9, right? There is a moment, I think that, all the couples are getting ready to meet up, and you have Santiago and Emily eating, and Santiago, I'm sorry, the fact that I'm sorry, y'all. This scene to me is just disturbing. It's actually quite disturbing. So they're both eating, right? And out of nowhere, he just feels like she needs to go hurry up and get ready. And he doesn't want her to eat anymore. But she's like, but I'm still eating.
No, I'm going, but I don't have a shirt.
What about the shirt you slept in?
Yeah, but I sleep in that one. Sweetie, hurry up.
This man forcefully removes her fork and her plate from her.
Hurry up. Are you eating lunch or talking trash?
What's that green stuff?
All right, hurry up and get changed.
I wasn't finished.
Come on.
This is on camera. This is on camera. And they keep this in the show, right? And there's no way that you're telling me that camera people saw this. The editing people saw this. Chris Colleen's raggedy ass saw this. And nobody felt that, hey, this is actually abuse. We're watching abuse take place. Nobody saw anything that alerted them that this was actually quite serious. I refuse to believe that. I refuse to believe that. And so anyway, fast forward after all that, they get married. They get married. At the altar, Emily's asked first if she will take Santiago to be her husband. She says yes, and then she says her vows.
Yes, I do.
I found that interesting. Like, is that an Argentinian thing? Is that something that they do in their culture where they say yes or no first? And if they say yes, then they say their vows? I thought that was interesting because I saw that Santiago did the same thing.
Of course I do. Yes, I do, obviously. However, when I stepped into pod number 5 and you told me your name, my fears just faded away.
But anyway, so they get married. Fast forward to the reunion. You have them being questioned because while the show was airing, apparently social media was appalled. They were appalled the entire time watching the way Santiago treated her on camera. And then also, I guess, folks who previously knew him were coming out with their own stories or saying what they had heard that he had done to other women. And this was so concerning, right? And here's my thing that I hated about the way these hosts treated this. First and foremost, what the fuck did these hosts have on?
Communication's so important.
In every relationship, for sure.
I've got a question.
What are y'all wearing? Who dressed y'all? What Goodwill did y'all go to get dressed for? What is happening? What's going on? Let me stay serious. Let me be serious. They kept asking things like, certain things were said. Certain things were said on socials. How do you feel about certain things that were said? No. Tell me what folks were saying.
Is it true what's been said on social media? Some things have been said about Santiago.
Because see, picture this. Some folks might be watching the show and they don't have access to social media, or they're not in tune with social media like that. So they're watching it and they're confused because what was being said? What was being said about Santiago? So these hosts did a lot of tootsie rolling and pussy popping around what actually was taking place. So they never addressed actually what was being said by Santiago. But then you have Emily speaking about it, saying that, obviously she's going to defend her husband. Oh, I know Santiago better than social media does. She praises him basically and tells everyone that he's a good person. Regular victim shit. This is what victims do, right? And then she goes on to talk about her mom. Her mom is in the audience, sitting there in tears, because her mother was so concerned because she saw a lot of the things that were being said by Santiago.
She was really worried when she read those social media comments because she knows what I went through. And
do y'all see how visibly shaken Emily's mother is? Like, this clearly was breaking her, but her daughter, unfortunately, is sticking up for this man. Mind you, down to the reunion, they're talking about the fact that they went into full crisis mode after the wedding because this man had no money. They had to move into his parents' home.
And I didn't have a place for us to live together, so we moved in with my parents.
And briefly after that, Emily had to leave him at his parents' home and go to her mother's home because there was so much dissension still happening between them. And they kept talking about just how intense their relationship was.
And let me tell you, things looked just as intense and real as they felt. We witnessed a love story that was super intense.
That's even how the host kept putting it. Oh, you guys' relationship was so intense. It was so intense. No, it was violent. Their relationship was violent. It was a violent relationship. Let's call it what it was. That was violence. There's intense, and then there is violence. Emily was in a violent situation with this man, and you all just basically condoned it by wrapping it in a bow and calling it intense. Now, Emily has yet to say anything about production, at least not to my knowledge. If you all know this, please drop it in the comments, provide links, and I will be happy to do a follow-up. But there's no convincing me. There's no convincing me that Love is Blind, Chris Colleen's raggedy ass, was not fully aware that this woman was in a violent situation with this man who had no money, who had no home of his own, but was sent onto this show to marry. I just feel that there should be basic standards when it comes to joining a show like Love is Blind. Having your own home as a man should be a requirement. I need to know that you can have your own place and not be dependent on your parents. You're 29 years old and you're looking for a wife. Don't get me wrong, the economy all over is crazy. But if you're at home with your parents, you're not ready for marriage. Point blank period. That's my personal opinion. Anyway, guys, just drop that in the comments. Let me know your thoughts on Love is Blind, the victims unit. Yeah, I just wanted to use my platform to shine a light on this issue. I think that, you know, Love is Blind, when Lila was on the show last season, I talked about Rodney Alcala. Rodney Alcala is one of the most notorious serial killers in American history. Netflix has a movie called Woman of the Hour, which is loosely but closely based on the story of Rodney Alcala, who was a contestant on the dating game back in the 1970s. I believe it was 1978. And when he was on this show, there was someone in the audience that tried to warn the production that this man had pum-pum-pummed her best friend, okay? And no one believed her. She went to the police. No one believed her. He almost pum-pum-pummed the female contestant that he won the date with from the dating game, right? And I talked about this because I have no doubt that Love is Blind is facilitating grounds for this to happen again. When you look at all these predators that I talked about in this video, whether it be Lila, the romance scammer, whether it be Alex, the pedophile, whether it be Santiago, the woman beater, whether it be Leandro, the essayer, right? Love is Blind is fueling, it is facilitating a place for these predators to go. And it's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time until there is a scandal that even their contracts cannot protect them from. It's coming. It is coming. And while Netflix has a movie like Woman of the Hour, I think it's, and I love Netflix. I enjoy a lot of shows on Netflix, but I think it's somewhat irresponsible to be aware, because there's no way that Netflix is not aware that Love is Blind is doing this. I think it's irresponsible to also facilitate viewership to this. Because what's happening is a lot of viewers are not going to see my video. A lot of viewers are not going to see Storytime with Ricky's videos. A lot of viewers are not going to see every TikTok that gets made. But billions of viewers watch this show. And these people that Netflix and Love is Blind are platforming are turning into celebrities. And unfortunately, they are being rewarded for very dangerous behavior. They're being rewarded with followers, with brand deals, with free trips, with access to more victims. It's only a matter of time before we have a huge scandal that Chris Colleen's raggedy ass, that Love is Blind's raggedy ass, and Netflix will not be able to shove under the rug. Drop down in the comments. Let me know your thoughts on this video, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you so much.
VBS, I just turned the water on. Big old flex, shit you never saw before. These niggas chasing me like waterfalls.